Welcome to the first edition for 2025 of Kingdom Calls. This is going to be a weekly podcast where we're going to go through Kerry and the intercounty scene while the intercounty football is on, and we're also going to cover the hurling championship and, of course, the club football and county championships later on. But our immediate aim tonight is firstly to cover the Kerry Meath game in the championship, and that's on in Tullamore on Saturday at 4:15. Now, with me to discuss the football, first of all, I have three eminent, if not very distinguished, guests with me. Knowledge on football, on a number of, I suppose, examples would be that it's limited, but on others, they're very knowledgeable. Talking about knowledgeable, an author, he's written a couple of books about himself. No, he's written a couple of good books, one on the history of Jay, one about Tony O'Sullivan, if I remember.
There's no way he's read them.
He's also, I have looked inside the front page and read the foreword. That is from the Spa Club. He also writes for the Kerryman newspaper, covers Camogie, County League football, and he can't be allowed to do anything else. That is Jimmy Darcy. How are you, Jimmy? Welcome.
How are you doing? Cheers, Mert.
Then we have Mr. Football, Hurling and everything, our Clubber main commentator and top freelance journalist. Mainly he's a retained stable with the Kerryman, and he also writes for other publications. Very knowledgeable in all sports, and now he's taken up a tipping service, would you believe? And if you want to follow his tips, it's the shortcut to the poorhouse, I can tell you. That's John O'Dowd.
Thank you, Bert.
John. And then at the far corner, we have a nephew of two of the greats of Kerry football. That is John Turney O'Shea and Derry O'Shea. Remember back in the 60s, the 5 in a row, and playing Kerry and Galway. So if this man hasn't got football pedigree, nobody has. Unfortunately, it missed a generation, and now he's into coaching big time, and he's with academies, and he also coaches Ardfert, and Ardfert's position in Division 2, the County League, I believe, if you turn the Kerryman upside down, they're on top, but they really are at the bottom. Clive, you're very welcome.
Thanks, Mert.
All right, he's a bit upset now, being reminded that he's at the bottom of the table. But anyway, they've had absolutely loads of injuries. Now, let's go with the Kerry Meath game. It's a big game for both sides. Both are as good as in the knockout stages, obviously. Kerry need a point or a win to get straight through to the quarterfinals. And that would mean that they wouldn't be playing the following week. Meath obviously need to beat Kerry. A draw will not do them. So everything is on the line in Tullamore. Now, first of all, we will have to discuss, I suppose, the Kerry side and the Kerry point of view. And I'll go to John first on this. Kerry injuries, John. It's not looking good.
No, not for Saturday. The biggest worry is Barry Dan O'Sullivan at this moment in time. It looks like his inter-county season minimum is probably at an end with a serious enough knee ligament injury. Nothing fully confirmed yet. I think he has to undergo a second scan just to be sure, but it looks likely that, and it's really sad for the player himself because like Barry Dan would never have been referred to as an overnight sensation for the Kerry seniors. Like his debut came during Eamon Fitzmaurice's time as manager, maybe the bones of 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So he's had to wait a long time before he became a regular, and like he was really, really playing well this year. And I think Jack O'Connor said that the new rules really suited him, the real contested battle around the middle of the field again from the kick-out. So he's going to be a big loss, especially when you consider that our number one midfielder, I think it's fair to say, Diarmuid O'Connor, is also on the injured list at the moment and hasn't had much game time at all in the last few months. And then you add in your number one playmaker in Paddy Clifford, who's going to miss this weekend, and Paul Ganey, who's, as he has been doing for the bones of 12 months now, just rolling back the years from week to week. So 4 key players, 4 starters, all going to be missing. Now, it mightn't be the be-all and end-all this coming weekend, but it could be 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, Clive, injuries. We were talking to Gavin White, the captain, at the launch in Muckross, the launch of the Munster Championship. And the one thing he did say when we asked him what would the new rules bring and etc., and he said loads of injuries. Basically, now you involved with club and you're well aware of the amount of effort that players have to put in now. The running is more, they work harder. It's a different game completely than it was 12 months ago. Injuries do happen, but Kerry badly hit. Huge blow.
Yeah, and the problem with injuries as well now with the condensed season is that if a player gets injured and the games every 2 weeks, there's a good chance, I know we're talking about Barry Dans is probably more serious, but any niggle or a knock, can knock a guy out for the bones of, it's a crucial period coming up now. You have a quarter final coming 2 weeks after, and it's 2 weeks after again, hopefully, to semi final. But any knock or niggle that takes a bit of time to get ironed out, the space isn't there. And I know they're getting the best of care and the best of physio and the best of treatment to recover. But just to give injuries time, unless it's really, really insignificant, you're going to be in trouble. And we've seen that. Diarmid has missed a couple of games. Paddy has got hurt. So Barry Dans is more significant, but for players themselves, it's hugely disappointing that a little knock can have such a big bearing on their careers and their season that it's so short that they will possibly miss out on the really best part of the championship now for them.
Yeah, and Jimmy, when you have those players out, and I'm hearing as well, but I can't confirm it, that there's another player with with an injury who could miss out as well, and this player is a very important player. I leave it at that for us. A very, very important player. Jimmy, that means you've got to go to your bench. Now, our bench delivered the last day in terms of Tony Brosnan, came on and did well, Killian Spillane, kick points. The lads came on, Mark O'Shea came on in midfield and did very well. But if you take them and put them onto the team, what's left in your bench then? So it is a serious problem for us.
I think particularly midfield, I think most people at this stage would agree that your preferred choice would be Diarmid Barry Dan starting midfield, and you have Joe able to kind of use his drive and power from wing forward. Mm-hmm. For me, Joe has been playing footballer of the year kind of stuff this year. And I think wing forward, where he can kind of move around, read the game. Joe, he has the speed to get there. He has the muscle to do something about it when he gets there. I'd love to see him at wing forward. I can't see it happening. Joe, even if Diarmid comes back, he's going to be rusty. Joe has to be our main man midfield now, and that's taking something away. We have very good forwards. Graham has to stay at number 10. I don't particularly like the idea of defenders kind of playing as auxiliary wing forwards. To me, you're taking a scorer out, if you know what I mean. Forward should be there to score. But the truth is that we need that ball winning. So you're now you're already mending and minding and so on. You've made the point, and quite rightly, with the new rules, which I absolutely love. And you can see the high scores all over the place. I was saying it to someone there a couple of minutes ago. You had defenders winning All-Stars who had never defended one-on-one in their entire lives. You had way more time to breathe because there's 13 of you back defending, you're covering each other. You can take turns doing that breakout attack. It was dreadful to watch. Like it broadcast this after 9 o'clock kind of thing. If I was to speak my mind, I really,
Please don't speak
I
your
had
mind.
written off football. Like, so this year is great in that regard, but it is much harder on the body because the teams are stretched now. You do have to do that sprinting. You do have to do that running. And I'm sorry, no, old bugbear of mine. I'm saying this for quite a while. That group stage does nothing for nobody. It's sapping energy. It's just, as well as injuries, like you say, those little niggles and bruises.
Yeah.
But
sure, to be even quicker.
I think Kerry have to go out and win this. Not particularly anything against Meath or anything like that. We've 2 wins under our belt. We're flying. I think we need a hard game, but we then need that extra week's rest.
Yeah,
And I think I don't think with the schedule the way it is at the moment, it's absolutely savage. It's unfair, it's unnecessary, it's a waste of money, a waste of time.
So you'd have the All-Ireland back to August, would you?
No.
When your kids are going to school? When kids are going to school.
I would take out that group stage entirely.
But they're doing it next year anyway.
They're doing it. God, there's people calling for, it's so good this year. Let's
do 1 year, yeah.
I'm going, what in the name of God are you talking about?
So many dead
There's
rubbers
one
before.
good group, and that's because 3 big teams have been brought together.
Yeah, it's like in the county league here. You get teams meeting each other who've nothing to play for.
You look at the likes of Armagh and Galway. Jesus Christ, they're so flat, they're nearly sleepwalking now. Meanwhile, Kerry could be eating their sandwiches in the middle of the second game that they're playing.
I know.
Sorry about that, no. But honest to God, it's preposterous.
Jimmy,
I get the impression I'm alone here.
I remind you the last time you decided to speak your mind, you said the only way that David Clifford could be marked was to get to him with an axe the night before.
Has anybody marked him since?
No.
There you go.
So you're right. So the axe murderer from prevails. Now,
occasionally strident, never wrong.
Okay, right, Jimmy. We believe you 1,000
But that's for me, genuinely, get rid of those group games.
Yeah.
And why, in the name of God, we're going up to Tullamore to play this?
Why do you want to play? When you're at Rathmore, is it?
Why don't we go for Brokaw together? Can we not go over to Ibiza and play there?
No, Jim Cathy's over there. He wrecked the place.
If I'm going to that
and there's
trouble,
no more Irish allowed in there.
It would be cheaper, I think, than driving up to Tullamore and stopping and getting your old hand roll. Okay?
Listen, the last time I saw you,
all of this is madness to me, like.
Jimmy,
and nothing on television.
You live in Spa, and you have difficulty getting to the Fitzgerald Stadium without bringing a sandwich inside, wrapped up in a back copy of the Kerry man. That's your old style. All about old style. So am I.
All difficulty.
Okay, Jimmy, I have to hold you there because I'm on the clock this evening. Listen, Clive. Would you? Oh yeah, there was a guy obviously during the weekend before. I'm not in jail for him. Had to go at me because I said there was a kind of a surprise. No, it's not really a surprise. I used the wrong word, but there is an addition to the Kerry squad. And I was talking to someone who actually close to the group, you say, and I was talking to this person's club officer, we'll say. So it is a fact that Tomas Kennedy has been added to the Kerry panel. It's just not his training in there. It may be, but he played in the A versus B game, which I think last Saturday is a signal enough that Jack is looking at what's left on the bench in terms of, because of the injuries, there's 4 or 5 gone for this game. So he's brought him in. Would you think that he would have him on the bench to come on? Would he start him? Or is he too young?
I wouldn't say he's too young. If you look at Tyrone, they're using McElhone, who was involved in the 20s. And if he's shown up in those A versus B games and showing well and as going better than what's in there, I'd say Jack would have no hesitation in using him. And it's a chance. We're talking about the injuries. The guys, the likes of Mark O'Shea, who's been, knocking around a couple of years, waiting for a chance, and took his opportunity against Cork last night. I'm sure he's relishing a start if he gets it the next day. With Sean O'Brien in the mix as well. We're talking about Paul Gainey probably being out. Killian Spillane, I'm sure, is bursting for a start. Came on, kicked a couple of points the last day. So the guys who are on the bench would be really relishing getting a start. I know them are looking after what's going to take their spots, but if Tomas Kennedy and his serious ability is showing well in those A versus B games, I wouldn't see any reason why he wouldn't be making it 26.
Yeah, I would hope so. I would also hope that the guy I'm not on the forum, but some guy sent it to me, and obviously there was no name attached to this as usual on the keyboard warriors. The guy who had the visceral anxiety or something, and said that was Mort looking for clicks, should realise that a guy whose age is up behind him does not look for clicks at this stage. He looks for either a wheelchair or a Zimmer frame or something, but clicks, because unless they think that I'm in line to replace Keelty in the Late Late Show or something. I think my ambitions now is for a quiet life. Talking about a quiet life, look at Meath, John, for me. We've met them 4 times in the championship since 2000. In 2001, the famous semi-final, 2-14 to 0-5 to Meath. That was a huge shock at that stage back then. We met them in 2009 and it was closer, 2-8 to 1-7. We met them in 19, 2-18 to 1-13, not too bad. And then 2024 last year was really one-sided, 2-18 to 0-9. So they beat us once back in the day, but in recent times we've had, and they're down in Division 2 in the league. They haven't been in Division 1 for years. So therefore you'd have to say on all metrics, we should be beating Meath, John.
No matter what happens to Meath for the rest of the season, this will go down as a fairy tale campaign because they beat Dublin in the Leinster Championship. Simple as that. Something that nobody in Leinster has been able to do for the bones of 15 years, I think it was, since Meath beat them. I think it was 2010 maybe when
2010,
when Meath got 5 goals that day. So everything after that is a bonus for Meath because they beat their old rivals and deservedly beat them. Since then, they could easily have won the Leinster final. They lost by 2 points, I think it was.
They conceded 3 goals, John. Would you worry about their defence?
Not overly. Like Croke Park will lend itself probably to more goals. Since then, like, they didn't concede any goals to Cork. Okay, you can talk about Cork, this, that, and the other, but they beat Cork by 4 points, and this was a Cork team coming off the back of that performance against Kerry, where they pushed Kerry to extra time and should have won the match.
Yeah.
So that was a Cork team confident going up to Navan that day, and they came a cropper.
But they had 9 wides in the first half and 2 into the keeper's breadbasket. So if you do that against Kerry, you're not going to get away.
Since then, Meath, I suppose, a draw against Roscommon in Dr. Hyde Park, and as you said about conceding goals, they did concede, I think, 2 goals.
2 goals, yeah.
That day. Robbie Brennan.
They don't score many goals.
Robbie Brennan has made a definite impact. I think there's an extra bit of freshness around Meath this year after Colm O'Rourke left. Some players have come back. Jack Flynn didn't play last year. Now, he was injured against Cork and he missed the Roscommon game. He's a very good footballer, so I'm not sure if he's going to be back in the mix. But like Brian Menton, one of their most experienced campaigners over the last 10 or 15 years. He's back, he's going to be midfield. He didn't play last year. Donald Keohan is still there. They have a very dangerous full forward line. James Conlon was excellent the last day against Roscommon with 6 points. Jordan Morris, Owen Frey, and Matthew Costello is a very good footballer. They're kind of playing him in the half forward line. I think he's one of the best.
He can play at 12. He can play at 13, but they've been playing at 12. So he's the guy that's impressed me most.
I suppose the big thing about Meath for this weekend is what way do they approach the game? Like, they're through to the preliminary quarterfinals minimum already.
Yeah.
Do they go hell for leather to try and win the group and go straight into the quarterfinal, which is probably still unlikely, even with the Kerry absentees? Or do they say to themselves, we've a game the following weekend if we lose here today or we draw here today, so we have to kind of maybe keep something in the tank for the following weekend in the probable reality of losing this game today? Or do they say, no, Kerry are vulnerable, we're going to attack them? Because they didn't attack Kerry last year. They threw the 14 men behind the ball. And now, as Jimmy says, you can't do that this year.
Yeah, Jimmy, Sean Coffey came off injured against Cork, and he's a very vital cog in the semi-final. In fact, against Cork, they took off 4 forwards. They took off the entire inside line. I think they took off 4 guys. They took off Frayne after 46 minutes, Duke after 50, Conlon 68. Now they took off Kinstler, but that was, I think, a blood sub. So, I mean, what do you make of them?
No, for me, I actually think it's a bit of a weakness with Kerry as well. I think Meath are very vulnerable if you attack them at speed.
Yeah.
If you go direct, and I think speed is something that this Kerry team are good at. Get the ball in there quick.
They're kick passing as well.
Let the side do it.
Yeah.
Kerry have gotten good at going for goals. Meath, interestingly, I think they seem to love the 2-pointers.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned Costello.
Yeah.
You know, Flynn and Menton can both put them over.
Yeah.
No,
Free
I
and
like the football they're playing. They're very...
And their goalkeeper is very good at long-range frees, Billy Hogan. He's got a lot of two-pointers so far.
They're very orthodox, if you know what I mean. If you kind of look at their defenders aren't actually scoring that much. They're trusting people to do their own jobs to an extent. They're very fit. They will run all day. Midfield is big enough. They have muscle. I don't think they're the worst we could come against. I mean, 2 years ago they were in the Charlton Cup, right? They won it. Meath, I mean, they're one of the most feared teams out there, late 80s and then the late 90s again with Giles and Kerry in these.
Yeah.
And then suddenly Byron left in somewhat acrimonious circumstances. And my God, they fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, and every year, because Meath had been so good. I remember particularly the 80s, like I was a teenager, you could be 10 points.
You were a teenager in the
over Meath
70s. Oh, you were a
with
teenager in
2
the
minutes
80s.
to go. You go, yeah. But they were the team that would always keep coming back. You know, that last 5 minutes, they could be way down and yet they could get something. And then suddenly that just wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, and right, Dublin.
But they were warriors.
Killed
They were
Leinster.
warriors. Yeah.
No, I think a lot of people are judging Meath based on that Dublin game. That's the one result everybody will remember from this year. There is a certain ding dong, the witch is dead kind of a thing. No offence to Dublin. They were lovely people, they were a great team to watch, but they were just so dominant. Yeah. And nobody wants to see the one team win all the time. Yeah. Ask anybody outside Kerry about that Kerry team in the early 80s. They hated us. You know? Yeah. And I get where they're coming from. It doesn't... You know, you want the drama, you want the underdog, that kind of a thing.
But still, Jimmy...
Meath played out of their skins, Dublin were poor. But Meath, through the National League, through the Championship, they're putting up decent scores, they're putting up a good few two-pointers. Overall, I'm not overly afraid of them. I don't think they'll be going handle with the hatchet on this one. Even if they do, I think, Kerry, you look at our forwards, I look at their defence. I think if they make it a shooting match, we will outscore them.
You've gone from an axe now to a handle and a hatchet.
But I do think, for me, that extra week's rest is vital.
Okay.
I think the most intriguing thing about this weekend is what Kerry team goes out. Yeah. And I think most of them, I think Mark O'Shea has done enough to get a run at midfield.
Yeah. Clive, sorry to interrupt you, Jimmy. Clive, what would you think? Their full back line, they've got Lavin in there, Rafferty and Ryan, I think. Now, who's going to mark David Clifford if David Clifford plays?
Yeah, they've been conceding. I think their average is conceding 19 points a game, and we're scoring average 29 points a game. So there's the 10 points, you know, and I think from me perspective, realistically, if they can get out of this weekend with a home quarter final the following week, a home preliminary quarter final, and I think the game will probably take on a life of its own in the second half if they're getting the result of Roscommon, Cork coming through. How's that going? Keeping the ball might be Meath's just holding on to possession and running down the clock.
They're defensive enough, aren't they?
They've been scoring two. The lads said the 2-pointers. They've been kicking 2-pointers, and they have attacking players.
Cork, actually, I think.
It was interesting. From Matthew Costello got the goal in the 62nd minute in the Ulster in the Leinster final. Against Louth, and they didn't touch the ball until for the remainder of the game. Bar the keeper with kickouts. They didn't see the ball. Louth controlled it, possession, worked a couple of scores, and just killed the clock. Yeah. And I think Meath will, depending on the score in the other game on Saturday, will be looking to do that. They're already Roscommon are -10 at the moment, and Meath are +4. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think in their hearts of hearts, no one expects Meath to turn Kerry over at the weekend. And I think their best bet is to get a home preliminary quarter final, and then they're back in the game again. Yeah. They could be in the quarter final the following week.
Do you think they beat Dublin, which is huge for them, and then they go along against Louth, where you'd be thinking, well, now bring momentum on, win a Leinster Championship. Like, it's a long time since they won it, and they didn't.
Yeah, and that was a big game for both teams. Obviously, Louth had the greater, the famine was greater.
Yeah.
But it was a chance for both teams to win a trophy. Dublin were down bodies that day as well in the Leinster semi-final, and Meath with the new rules nailed them with 2-pointers.
Yeah,
early doors. But it was a missed opportunity, a Leinster final. But I don't think anyone begrudged Louth at Leinster after what happened in 2010. And such a long time since they won it previously.
Let's not poke that bear.
But
let's go now as time is against us. John, let's assume that Kerry have a fit 1 to 8. I think we're all agreed that the keeper, the defence, and Joe O'Connor will start, right? So can you tell us who's going to play? If we accept that David Clifford will be okay, and if he's not okay, we're in big trouble. But if he is okay, then who's going to fill in the blank? Sean O'Shea is going to be there.
Mark O'Shea will play number 9 now. I think that's pretty much guaranteed. With Diarmid and Barry Dan out, it'll be Mark and Joe O'Connor midfield.
You don't think that Sean O'Shea might be shifted out there?
No, not with Paddy Clifford missing. They need Sean O'Shea playing centre forward, probably with Graham O'Sullivan and Micheál Burns. I think the biggest question will be, assuming David is inside. David has been working brilliantly with Paul Ganey so far in the championship, and it's to break up that partnership now, which has to be done, is going to be a big loss. So you're going to be talking about 3 forwards for 2 positions. You're basically saying Tony Brosnan, Killian Spillane and Dylan Ganey. 2 of them are going to start now. And I could imagine Tony might turn out to be the link, the third in the inside line, but a little bit further out. And then your choice will be Dylan or Killian to play off David Clifford. So
you'd imagine it's going to be Dylan, would you? You'd need Killian. You need a scoring forward to come on off the bench.
Yeah, well,
we don't have too many.
Maybe
Tomas Kennedy might come on.
Killian probably doesn't like to be known as a super sub, but like it is fair to say that his best performances at senior level in the green and gold jersey have come off the bench. So he might well be kept for that role, because as you were saying, if we're down 4 or 5 squad players, the bench won't be as strong.
Right, now it's come to decision time, boys. I want to know who's going to win the game, and I want to know the winning margin with a small explanation. And when I mean that, Jimmy, I mean about 30 seconds. I don't need your life story.
Kerry 5.
Oh, that was really sharp. I moved quickly on before.
You've already done that,
No, that has shocked me. It's my very core. John, maybe with a little bit of meat in it, how do you think it'll go?
I think Kerry will still win. Like the absentees is not what you're looking for at this stage of the season. But as Clive says, it does open opportunities for other players. And they have to grab their chance, like they did off the bench the last day. But it's a totally different kettle of fish starting. Yeah. But Kerry still have the greater quality. Meath, I think, have to keep something in reserve for a probable preliminary quarter-final the following weekend. I think Kerry by about 7 points.
Yeah, Clive, what would you say?
I'd say Kerry 8 to 10.
Kerry 8 to 10. Yeah. I would go along with you. I think Kerry are going to win, and I think Tullamore will suit Kerry. I remember the last time I was in Tullamore for a Kerry game, Tomas O'Shea and the Gooch weren't playing. We were playing Antrim. Yeah. I remember being there, and I remember interviewing Paul.
Jade Spar, you've often been there, Jimmy, is that correct?
Yeah, and that was one of the great iconic post-match interviews with Jack O'Connor that we ever had. I've had a few with him, mind you. So overall, I think Kerry, despite the injuries, are going to get through. Any surprises anywhere else? We have a minute left.
I think
Cork and Roscommon.
Roscommon.
You think Roscommon?
Should be Roscommon again. Cork. Do they want to go down fighting? I could see it.
Cork are funny. I think
they are capable of a big performance.
Do Cork go? Do they overdo the physical stuff? I was watching someone again there today. I was watching the wing back, O'Driscoll, isn't it? Yeah. And I saw the physicality, I thought it was overzealousness of him. And he's a fine footballer. He kicked 2-pointers in the Munster in the Munster semi-final, the game that went to the extra time. But the last day he was more concentrating on let's get this guy, and not in his own game. And I don't think it helps Cork.
I have a funny feeling Cork might win.
Do you? You always had a leaning towards Cork, hadn't you?
Not really, just a hunch that they might actually turn up this weekend.
What about, is it the Dubs v Derry, is it?
Dublin v Derry and Armagh v Galway and Donegal v Mayo. They're probably the biggest games of the weekend.
Yeah, call them so. Donegal and Mayo.
I think Donegal will beat Mayo.
Yeah, right.
I'd still give Dublin the nod to beat Derry. I'm not sure if Conor O'Callaghan's back, but if he is, I would say definitely Dublin.
Yeah.
Armagh v Galway is probably toss of a coin.
Yeah, you'd imagine with Armagh qualified, etc., they won't be going that tough. Has to use bench Clive, so maybe Galway would have a chance.
Draw.
A draw. Every time I ask you for a game that you know you have to have a decision, you can't sit in the ditch, you say a draw. You're worse than that guy Aidan Leahy, which I'll have to deal with shortly. So, final question. We're 43 seconds over, which is great timing. I want your All-Ireland winner before we do our last round. Who's going to win the All-Ireland? And I will know. I'll give you two. Who are the top two for the All-Ireland? Right now, Jimmy, do you need time to think, or is it off the top of your head?
I'm worried about the fact that we haven't met any of the top teams, but right now I would say Armagh, Kerry. I think Armagh have that extra bit of fitness, that extra panel. Yeah. I think tiredness is going to kill Galway.
Injuries could kill us.
It's hit Dublin
John,
hard.
what would you be saying?
I would say 3, but if you want me to give 2, I'll say Kerry and Donegal.
Kerry and Donegal. Clive?
Kerry, Donegal.
I go Armagh and Donegal. Kerry are my number 3. Controversial, but that's the name of the game when it comes to me. Controversial. So that's
somebody call on post and tell them there's going to be sacks of hate mail coming our way again.
Yeah, well, no, we get it's on the forum. I get the hate mail, I presume. So listen, that's our look forward at the Kerry Meath game. If you're going to the game, enjoy it. And listen, despite what Jimmy said, it's not too far. It's less than 3 hours, I think. Did you time it, John?
To the hell of a journey. And if you see me there, I will be carrying a lunchbox with ham sandwiches. I ain't even joking.
We see you there to be a representation of you and not yourself. So yeah, we would hope that there would be support. People have been given out about the venue, and still in all, we had only 6,800 at Kerry, Roscommon and Killarney, which is only down the road. So really,
because these group games are rubbish.
Listen, if I needed a ventriloquist, if I needed a voice on my conscience alongside me, it wouldn't be you.
I'm sorry, Circus Master, please continue.
Okay, so before I was interrupted, I was just saying, go and support Kerry. It's not on TV, it's on Radio Kerry, to be fair to them. It's not on TV. We'll give Radio Kerry, Timmy and Ambrose the plug this time. And hopefully they'll give us a plug sometime. So you can listen in there if you can't get to the game, because you'll have no chance to see. There'll be no illegal streaming, and if anywhere appears with illegal streaming, unless JC Shea's name is after it, it's not, you'll be getting nothing. So don't hook into those, they're only scams, just like Kilmiley. It'll end up costing you money. So now that's our first Kingdom call. We will be back next week. We look back on the Meath game and look forward and reassess Kerry with the injuries. But you can also look in tonight or in the morning to our Senior Hurling Championship preview, which is coming up next. And one final thing, we did 26 last year free of charge. But this year, I think for our endeavours, we are looking for a sponsor. So if there's any sponsor who's looking at this and who would like to get involved in us, you can contact me or any one of the lads, and we'll sort things out. We'll hold, a conclave or a discussion. And if there's white smoke, we've agreed, and if there's black smoke, the camera has gone on fire. So that's it for now. We'll be back, and we'd like to thank Kearns O'Reilly's for giving us their facilities here at the clubhouse. And we will be watching them with interest in 2 weeks' time. Less than 2 weeks now, when they take on Austin Stacks in the league decider. So we better be nice to Rallies. Hopefully Rallies will do well in that game. I can't take sides in that. I live in this close enough to this town. and there could be a fatwa out on my head. So that's it for now. Thanks to JC, who's the producer and who kept the clock on me and kept me in what will I say, controlled me somewhat. And we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back again next week with another one. That's it for now.